What's up, kings and queens? It's Dan from Daft Previews, and we are back again. We finally get to see some regular NBA action now that the quarterfinals for the in-season tournament are done. I've got 11 picks on the way, 9 player props, 2 value plays. Let's get into it. Here's that introduction y'all love. Let's go.
You're live from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice and the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.
All right, to begin, let's get started with a bit of a recap on our very last video. We shared 4 picks. We went 3 from 4. We collected 2.56 units of profit. First one was Malik Beasley over 12.5 points. I said it in the video, if he takes at least 11 shots, this is going to cash, and it cashed very easy. We had Josh Hart over 5.5 rebounds. At halftime, he had 0 rebounds. He finished on 4. But the shot percentage in that game were just ridiculous. Massive game, 270 points were scored. It was difficult for anyone to catch some boards in that one, so tough loss. We took Yusuf Nurkic over 2.5 in assists. I said on the road, he's a beast, and he finished on 4. We had Devin Booker over 4.5 rebounds. I said a lot of guards have been rebounding the shit out of the Lakers. Devin Booker ended up with 10. So a lot of those came through no sweat, or they didn't come through at all. Profitable day. Takes our season total to 43.59 units, 20.66% return on your investment. These player props are really starting to hit well over the last 3 videos. We're almost up 10 units on those single bets alone, almost 57%. You're probably thinking to yourself, these value plays, you got 35.8 units on them. We haven't seen them for quite some time. Well, boy, don't you worry, because they are back. I've got 2 value plays to share with you guys. 11 picks in total. Must be honest, I've spent close to 3 hours now researching, typing it up, finding the best odds for all of these players. So I hope you guys appreciate the work that goes into this. If you do like the video, drop a comment down. Any comment will do. Help us get some attention. Appreciate those who continually watch and always drop comments. But let's get straight into it, shall we? Kicking it off, taking Joel Embiid over 31.5 points. Is up against the Washington Wizards. Pretty simple. It's an easy matchup for him, and he's absolutely destroyed them in the past. Looking at this season, Joel Embiid's averaging 32 points per game. He's covered this line in 63% of his games. His record against the Wizards is absolutely terrific. He's covered this in 3 straight games against the Wizards, averaging 43 points per game in those 3. Now, Washington on the season, they allow the most points to the center position, and they're up against the number 1 scoring big man in the league. Blowout is a risk in this one, but the good thing is Joel Embiid tends to get his work done early. He scored 48 points against Washington in only 30 minutes earlier this season. So we're liking Joel to score some points. He's also a feature of our value players. So we're taking Joel Embiid, though, bumping his line up, taking him for 35 points and under 6.5 assists. As terrible as Washington is, they actually allow the 5th least assists to centers in this so far this season. Went through every single game that the Wizards have played, and the most assists they have conceded to a big man so far is 6. That happens to be Joel Embiid. So I'm looking for Joel Embiid to punish these pricks early, get some points, have an early shower, finish below the 6.5 assist line. Obviously, some rack up those points as well. So 35 points, is averaging 43 against him in his last 3. I know it sounds like a lot, but this is Joel Embiid. He can make a lot of things happen in a short amount of time. Into our next player prop, we're staying in the same game, but we're taking one of the boys from Washington, Kyle Kuzma. We're taking him over 5.5 rebounds. Now, Kyle Kuzma, as weird as he looks, he's covered this line at 53%, on his way to averaging 6.1 rebounds per game. Not bad. The matchup, though, is excellent. So the 76ers, they allow the 7th most rebounds to power forwards this season. Honestly, you didn't even have to look at the stats. You just have to use common sense. Joel Embiid is such a beast. Whoever's defending him doesn't really get to play basketball anymore. They just got to bang bodies and try to slow this guy down. So the centers are virtually taken out of the game. Kuzma, excellent rebounding streak when playing against the 76ers. I've dived deep into his history, and I've made sure to filter it out to ensure that it's only games where Joel Embiid has played, because I think he's a real focal point for this one. In his last 7 games that Kyle Kuzma has played up against Joel Embiid, he's covered this line in every single one of them. So that goes all the way back to 2021. So we're looking at the last 2 years, played them 7 times, and Kuzma's picked up over 6 rebounds in every single one. So we're liking Kyle Kuzma here. One, we're taking Dennis Schroeder. Now, out of all the picks that I'm sharing, this is one that I probably sat on the longest because I found reasons that I do like it, reasons that I don't. Ultimately, pulled my dick out, started swinging around, and thought, let's play. So Dennis Schroeder, he's only covered this 7.5 assist line in 40% of his games this year. He's averaging 7 assists per game. He does have an excellent 3-game stretch, recording 9, 12, and 9 assists in his last 3 games. This is a home game for Toronto, and at home, Dennis Schroeder averages 7.8 assists per game compared to 6 when he's on the road. Miami allow the 5th most assists to point guards this season, and they've been eaten alive over the last week. In their last 4 games, they've had the back-to-back set against Indiana, faced Milwaukee, and the Brooklyn Nets. And every point guard they faced in those games covered their points line, except for Tyrese Halliburton, who only recorded 10. So all of the other point guards absolutely annihilated their lines, given the Heat, riddled with injuries, most notably missing Bam Adebayo. They're going to be pretty soft inside. So I don't think there's also going to be a blowout in this game. The Raptors can't seem to put any teams to bed. So there's also some value in this pick. I got it for $2.30, which is plus money. So taking Dennis Schroeder over 7.5 assists. If I was getting $1.90 odds, I probably wouldn't take it, but plus money for something like this with his recent form, good matchup. Let's go D-Nice. Our next play, maybe taking a half unit here. So let me explain. So I've taken Michael Bridges over 40 points. His line in this game is 24.5. So I've started looking at that first, and I ultimately landed on 40. So let me go through this with you. From 19 games this year, Bridges has only covered his line of 24.5 points in 4 games. That's only a 21% hit rate. So you might be thinking his line's a little bit high. Well, it's higher than his average, and that could be an overreaction to the 42-point outburst against Orlando, or it could be the fact that he scored 40-plus points in his last 2 games against the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta do allow the most points to shooting guards this season. Bridges dropped 40 on him earlier, and Donovan Mitchell also had a 40 bomb against the Atlanta Hawks. I was looking through the data, and pretty much what I'm seeing is that Bridges either does what he normally does, and he scores between 20 to 23 points, or he goes absolutely mental and gets very close, or he hits this 40 bomb. So I was going to ladder it, take the 25, the 30, the 35, 40. But with the amount of bets that I have on, I wasn't going to put too much into this bloke. So playing a half unit for him to get a 40 piece, purely because I'll be kicking myself if he scores 40. And I was like, it was such an obvious trend. The matchup was great. He scored 40 on him twice already. I'll be killing myself if it happens. So just playing a half unit, just have some skin in the game. Ultimately, so I can say I was right. And if I was wrong, hey, it's only half a unit anyway. We're staying in the same game. We're taking Trae Young here, over 28.5 points. So Trae Young's been scoring the ball well over his last 10 games, averaging 29.5 points. He's had 4 games in that span where he's shot the ball over 27 times. That's unbelievable. Now, I play social basketball twice a week, and I probably take 27 shots a month in an actual game. So for him to do that 4 times in a 10-game span is pretty crazy. I guess if he's feeling it, he's just gonna keep going. He's not going to stop shooting. Now, looking to his efficiency, his percentage from deep, his percentage on his running floaters, much better compared to the first 4 weeks of the season. He's got excellent form against Brooklyn. He's covered this line in 5 of his last 6 games against the Brooklyn Nets, dating back to 2022. Not only has Trae feasted on this Nets backcourt in recent games, we've seen Cole Anthony, Terry Rozier, Dennis Schroeder, Tyrese Maxey cover their points line against the Brooklyn Nets. So liking Trae Young to cover his points line, but Trae Young's also one of our value plays that I've got for you. Taking Trae Young, score over 30 points to get over 2.5 rebounds and to get under 10.5 assists. So he's covered his assist line. So we spoke about the points. He's covered his assist line in 5 of his last 6 games against Brooklyn, which is actually quite funny because he's covered his points. He's gone over his points line. He's got under his assist line in 5 of his last 6 games against Brooklyn. In terms of his assists, though, Brooklyn allows the 5th least assist to point guard so far this season. So 10.5 is quite high. And if Trey is scoring, he's less likely to pass it anyway. Rebound-wise, that's where it gets a little bit tough. But it does really drive the value of this player. He's covered this line in 4 out of the 6 games where he scored 30-plus points. Tends to just get more involved when he's feeling it. But one of those games just happens to be against Brooklyn. So this setup that we're looking at, 30 points, over 2.5 rebounds, under 10.5 assists. He's done it against Brooklyn before this year. Let's hope that he does it again. So that's our second value play of this vid. Our second one, we're looking at Spencer Dinwiddie. The very same game, we're looking at over 7.5 assists. So he hasn't hit this line very well this season. 7 from 18 games with a hit rate of 39%. His recent form is much better. He's covered this in 3 of his last 5. Situationally, where this game is being played is pretty focal. The Nets, when they're on the road, we see an improvement in Spencer's assists. On the season, he's averaging 7.2 assists per game when he's on the road, compared to 5.8 when he plays at home. He does have an excellent matchup against the Hawks, who allow the 2nd most assists per game to point guards this season. And the reason why they average so many assists against them from the point guard position is how they defend the pick and roll. So given Trae Young's a point guard, doesn't play very well defense at all, they've got a scheme set up where if there is a pick and roll, they basically blitz and they double the ball handler, forcing it out of their hands. So what you'll see is Spence have to give that ball up almost every single time there is a pick and roll, which really drives the opportunities to get assists up. In terms of his matchup and how he's played against the Hawks, he's covered this in 3 of his last 4 games, averaging 9.8 assists in that matchup. In recent matchup, the Hawks have allowed Dame Lillard, Trey Jones, Darius Garland to cover their assist lines, all by doing the very same thing. So liking Spencer to go over in this one. I've got 3 more picks, but just let me catch my breath for a second and answer one of those questions. Siphon Domingo. Did I go 100% today, or will I go 100% today? Well, look, I'm hoping to go 100% on these picks in terms of how I went in the last one, 3 wins and 1 loss. So not bad. Another profitable day for us, my man. But let's get into it. 3 more games to go. We'd like a Mike Conley from the Minnesota Timberwolves to go over 6.5 assists. The old fella has hit this line in 8 of 19 games this season. It's only a 42% hit rate. But in good news, he's covered this line in 6 straight games. In those 6 straight games, he's averaging almost 9 assists per game. In terms of lineups, I do know that Anthony Edwards is a game time decision in this game. But in saying that, he still recorded 8+ assists in the last 4 games with Edwards in the lineup. Up against the Spurs, who allow over 120 points per game and the 3rd most assists to point guards, safe to say that Mike Conley has a great matchup. He did only record 6 assists in his last matchup against the Spurs this year, but that was also during a stretch where Mike Conley got less than 6.5 assists in 6 straight games. So the matchup is perfect. His recent form is arousing. So let's go, Mike, and let's get those assists rolling. 2 more plays, boys and girls. We're heading over to the Chicago Bulls. We're taking Kobe White over 18.5 points. So Zach LaVine's out with this one, which is the main reason why I'm taking this play. Still out with a foot injury. In the 3 games that Zach LaVine's been out, White has scored 23, 23, and 31 points, playing 40 minutes per game and attempting 18 shots. Now, even before Zach LaVine got injured, White was starting to heat up. He covered this line in 3 of his last 4 games with Zach LaVine in the lineup. 66% of his attempts come from downtown, and he's got a great matchup to get it done. Charlotte Hornets allow over 122 points per game, and they also sit in the bottom 5 in 3-pointers allowed and 3-point percentage allowed. He's covered this line in 1 of his last 3 games against the Hornets. He was playing a lesser role at that time, only played 26 minutes, took 10 shots per game. Given he's going to play close to 40 minutes, he should attempt at least 15 shots against a team that couldn't stop a street side. So I like his overs in this one. 18.5 points for Kobe White. And our very last play, we're going out west. Now, I don't have too many players from the West in this video, purely for 2 reasons. 1, I did get a little bit tired after 3 hours of research and typing all this shit up. But two, a lot of the markets aren't available. There's quite a few players who are game time decisions. So I will have picks on those, I'm sure. But if you're interested in seeing everything else that I get on, you can jump to the Discord. The link for that's in the description box below. Our very final pay, we're taking Ivica Zubac over 10.5 points. He's been decent this year. He's covered this line in 11 of 19 games for a 58% hit rate. He's been consistent as hell as of late. He's covered this line in 7 consecutive games, which coincidentally is aligned with the news. There was a headline out, I think it was the 12th of November. This headline came out where James Harden asked Zubac to stay back at practice to work on their pick and rolls. So ever since that point, that headline, whether they actually did the practice or not, we've seen Zubac cover his points line in every single game. The matchup isn't a bad one. He's up against the two-time MVP Nikola Jokic. Now, Zubac dropped 23 points on the Joker 2 weeks ago. I think that was the first game after James Harden said, let's practice together, bruh. So 23 points on the Joker in their last matchup, which I don't expect him to do again. But what that did is I think that started a wave of European bigs coming for Jokic's head. Since that game, we've seen Jonas Valanciunas score 22 points, Şengün scored 21 points, Zubac is 23, Şengün scored another 22 points, Nurkic scored 31 points, and Sabonis for 17 points. Now, I'm not suggesting another 20-point outing for Zubac here, but for 10.5 points, and at the rate that these European bigs have been giving it to Nikola Jokic, give me that every day of the week. So as you can probably tell by my voice, I am getting tired. This is the most picks I've ever shared in a video. 3 hours of research, getting all this shit ready for you. We've been hot as of late, quite profitable this season, but very profitable over the last couple of days. So hit the like button if you appreciate all that we do. Subscribe to the channel. Get a lot of comments about how these videos that are put up are good, and people are surprised just with the number of low views that we're getting. The main goal is consistency, so provided I put these things up, I'm sure I'm going to get more views, but more likes, more comments, they do go a long way in helping us, or helping me, grow this channel. But if you're interested in seeing what else I get on, obviously you can jump to the Discord. Everything that I share is free, won't charge you a cent. Best of luck if you're tailing. If you're not, let me know in the comment section. What else have I missed? But other than that, I'll see you tomorrow for the recap, and hopefully we'll get another green day, baby. Let's go.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to you live from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even